Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. How are you this evening? I am, of course, RJ. And Carrie, thank you very much for joining me. And I apologize to everybody that this is not the typical time that I come live. I usually am already live at this time of night. However, I wanted to make sure I got something to eat tonight before I went live. So thank you everybody for your patience with me. Just want to make sure I'm being heard. Everything is good. Hang on one second here. Okay, I heard my volume on YouTube side, so I know I'm good there. I appreciate that, everybody. So I typically have 5 things, or I started this channel with the concept I'm going to have 5 stories at the top of the show. 5 news stories that I believe need attention that have not gotten attention or need more attention, or were stories that are being blown out of proportion. And I had gotten away from that. So everybody, please, with your indulgence, I'm going to return to that tonight. Where the Wind Blows, thank you. Cherokee Girl, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out. My top 5 stories tonight is 4 stories and a bit of an announcement. The announcement, I'll get to that in just a moment. The first story is actually a video that Michelle After Dark had just posted within the past 20 minutes. I was going to raise this as a question, but she actually just went and blew it up before I had opportunity to say it. So kudos to her. Congratulations to her. This is a huge story, I believe. Within the past 24 hours, we had a supposed letter from Don Wells come out. True Crime and Other Stuff, thank you very much for joining us. How are you tonight? And ladies, of course, all ladies, thank you very, very much for coming. How are all you doing tonight? Michelle After Dark. She blew this up before I had opportunity to speak of this. My question is, who wrote the letter? Rain and Cosplay, thank you very, very much for coming. I appreciate you. Who wrote the letter? It's not Don Wells' penmanship. It's not the way Don Wells writes. Who wrote the letter? In salutations in the letter, it says Summer's father. Never once has Don Wells referred to him as as Summer's father. Where the Wind Blows, it's actually, I'm dumbfounded by the letter. It's not the way the verbiage is not Don Wells' normal language. It's not the way Don Wells would normally speak. The person that wrote this letter needs to come forward and own up to it. And own up to it that they have written this for Don Wells and hoping to represent Don Wells in a fair light. Because if you sat there and compared this letter to what he wrote, not just over a month ago, you don't switch your penmanship style in a month. You don't go by writing regular handwriting to writing in cursive. Carrie, thank you very much. Copyright disclaimer under Sections 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use and criticism, comment, and news reporting, scholarships, research, and educational purposes. Now, I know that this has been already cleared by the Summer Wells family website, that they give they give creators the permission to play the video as long as they play in full length. I'm not going to play the video. Okay, I will acknowledge that where the video is, but I'm not playing it because I don't believe this was from Don Wells. And whoever did write this letter needs to come up, step up, fess up, and say, yes, this was written by me for Don Wells. It was not written by Don Wells. Phoenix, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us. Number 2 on my list tonight, we're staying right in the same realm of Don Wells here. And that's Summer Still Missing. It's an obvious statement, but here's the thing. All this information that's coming out is a distraction to what is important. Summer is still missing. You have all these stories now coming out about how nobody will hire Candace, and that when Don Wells gets out, he feels that nobody will hire him because of everything that's been said by social media, blaming social media. It is nothing but a distraction. Where is Summer? That's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is, where is Summer? True crime and other stuff. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Nita is a very good creator, and if anybody had caught wind, I was actually speaking with her Sunday morning. We had an amazingly great conversation, and I'm very thankful for her to be promoting my channel and her mods as well. So if you're here, I know she had planned on going live about the same time I was, but Nita has is always, and her people are always welcome here. Will always be welcome here. We had a very, very good conversation. Excuse me, my voice is cracking on me. Right, Carrie and cosplay, you both got it right. Where is Summer? I long have said, you cannot believe anything that the people on Ben Hill Road have been saying. And this goes from the beginning of the case. I said, I was like, I don't believe them. And it extends, honestly, it extends from the spoof call that they had made up or did to find out who was the supposed information leak in their family. I realized way back then that you cannot trust anybody of anything they say. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's kind of obvious. Cherokee, you're right. The timing of this letter is rather suspicious. Just after it was publicly made, or made publicly, I believe it was by JLR, that the actual release date for Don Wells is October 30th. The sentence was a minimum of 6 months. 6 months put it at August 7th. According to the information that JLR came out with earlier this week, it's actually October 30th. It still leaves the question of where is Summer? Right. And that's what I'm saying. JLR was confirming that it was at the end of October. He had been saying all along it was October when he was the only one for a while that was saying that. True Crime Time, did she finally go live? So my third story is again related to Summer, but it's not Summer centered on this one. This is more to do with everything going on in Utah. About a month ago, and I am very humbled by this when I say this. I sometimes will speak and have predictions when I speak, and sometimes I don't realize I'm doing it. Sometimes I do realize I am doing it and have intention. I said it was going to be about 3 weeks that Utah was going to have all the paperwork in place, that Don Wells was going to be handed over to them. I said they were going to be taking their sweet time to dot their I's and cross their T's, but all the paperwork was going to be essentially done. Chris McDonough on Sunday night with an interview with Mary said they have 3 cases, 3 chargeable cases moving forward. Right in time of what I said. It was going to be about 2 to 3 weeks that they were going to have everything buttoned up and ready. So when I say I'm very humbled by this, I really meant yes, where the wind blows. Exactly. Chris McDonough explained that it was 3 cases that they were definitely going to be moving forward on, and it was cases that was going to put him away potentially for the rest of his life. So in no way do I take any sort of how do I say, we're not celebrating what happened. We never celebrate what happened in this type of situation. It's not something to celebrate. It's something that I am very humbled by. And at the same time, is very happy for the uh, uh, the victims of SA that are related to the Utah cases are going to be getting the justice they have deserved for close to 40 years now. So for those of us stuck with me, I know that some people are just stopping by to say hi and are listening in a little bit here. This story, next story is more of a little bit of maintenance. And I want to give it a little bit of an explanation. If you were in Nita's World live Sunday morning, early afternoon, it was a bit, and I'm not blaming anybody. It was not her mod's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's purely my fault for the name I chose. Okay. A little bit later, in the next couple days, I'm going to be rebranding my channel a little bit. There's going to be a little bit of a change in the name. I'm hoping it will make my channel be easier to be found. But I want to be very clear about why the name change and what it's being changed is for. This is in no ways to ride on anybody's coattail of successes. Even though the name is going to sound familiar to the interview room, I have nothing but respect for the interview room. My name, my channel name will still have RJ in it. However, because of it being so hard to find, and to respect somebody that I grew up listening to, that was actually on a radio program in the Philadelphia metro area, I will be rebranding it to be it's going to be it's going to be rebranded. The name's going to be changed around a little bit. There's a man who will be turning 86 years old on the 22nd. In the Philadelphia metro area, his name is Sonny Hill. I am not the biggest, and did not grow up in the biggest of basketball families. Other sports, too, growing up were bigger to me. Always was I did like basketball, but I was not a big fan of it. I was always a hockey or football type of person, baseball in the summer. But there's one thing that this person, when he got on the radio on Sunday mornings, Phoenix, I hope you enjoy your nachos. I hope they turn out really good. There's one thing that you learned from listening to this man. It was a respect for basketball. Absolutely cosplay. It was respect. Retro, I'm very thankful for you to join us. The Sonny Hill has been a Sunday morning radio program for since I was a teenager, probably longer than that. And in the Philadelphia, you have to understand the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, going back to the 60s, just after the naval shipyard had closed, it had a lot of problems. And if you're a sports fan and you watch the movie Invincible, it's the Vince Papale story. They go into the issues that Philadelphia was having. Because the naval shipyard had closed, it was people were literally living and dying. Okay, not literally, but figuratively, living and dying by the sports. They were clinging on to hope with the success and the failures of the sports teams in the Philadelphia area. And there's one thing that Sonny Hill had done, and that was to re-energize youth in Philadelphia area. Growing up, I remember if you had a fight with somebody, had beef with somebody in the neighborhood you lived in, and the police got involved, you know what they did? They went and took you to your parents. And they said, this is what's going on. We want to go and take them to the local gym and give them a way to get rid of the bound up energy by throwing them safely into a boxing ring. Where they would have headgears, gloves on, and they can beat the snot out of each other, and it's supervised. And then learned a positive way to deal with aggression instead of joining somebody's rival gang. Or land up where we are today with mass shootings, or land up with people just outright walk up and be the cause of somebody else's demise. That's what the cops did when I was growing up. Philadelphia Athletic League's PAL. That's part of what they did. Sonny Hill had a different way of looking at it. He said, let's get kids from the inner city involved in sports. Let's give them positive, constructive way to deal with it. Because that person that you had a beef with was now your teammate. And you had to learn how to get along with that person. You had to learn how to get along with that person on a competitive edge to figure out how to win a game with them. Yeah, Retro. That's what Sonny Hill did. He ran a league of inner city basketball that produced the athletes that went on to play for the NBA. And if you were in the Philadelphia area, you would know the story of the Big Five. Okay, if you followed college basketball, you know what the Big Five is. The Big Five is the five colleges that are in Philadelphia that Sonny Hill's league produced a lot of athletes for those colleges. He worked with the 76ers. He was an announcer for 76ers in the late 60s, early 70s, I believe it was. I know he started the Sunny Hill League back in, I believe it was 1968. But the reason I went down this rabbit trail is not to, not to say, oh, this man's so great. He's a man. He's a human. Every single man has flaws. Every single man has problems. I know he led an exemplary life. I know he did. He was a great man, very well respected. Okay. His involvement in what always got me listening to him on Sunday mornings was his passion and his knowledge for the game. And it wasn't just like, oh yeah, this is so great. This team is going to go to the finals, and no, it was he knew each player. He knew the name of the player. He knew the parents' name of the player. He sat down and had conversations with the player. And he would recite, if he got the right guest on Sunday morning, man, it was a conversation that would just blow your mind. The stories from 20, 30 years ago, like they happened yesterday. That's the kind of passion that man had. True crime, I understand. I hope you enjoy. That's the kind of passion that he had when he sat behind the microphone. And he said that his radio program was the living room for conversation. So yes, even though we do talk about crime stories, and there's a wide variety of it, it goes from Summer Wells missing all the way up and through heavy stories. Not that Summer Wells not a heavy story, but the heavy big topics of why Tops up in Buffalo, New York happened. We're going to be that welcomed living room, that welcoming living room where conversations can happen respectfully, honoring each other, and having positive passion. Cosplay, you stole the words out of my mouth. We're going to have that passion for what we are doing. We're going to have the passion to sit there and talk about it respectfully, to listen to each other. So while I didn't have the change happen tonight, going forward, we'll be known as the conversation room with RJ. Respectful compassion, respectful passion. This will not be a place for intentional ignorance. I made a little video earlier today, and this is bringing me to my fifth point, and we're going to go into the main topic of tonight. I made a video earlier today, and I want to give everybody a heads up. Take a quick moment here, break for a moment, and we're going to give everybody a moment to go grab Kleenex. Go grab some tissues, because this video is going to cause you to tear up. I ran it past my, what I refer to as day zero people, and that's not a slight to them. That is not any way disrespecting them. They know who they are, and my day zero people are just like the events that are the events that lead up to a moment. Many times in a crime story, you have that catalyst. What was the cause that person broke and they did something they shouldn't have done? Well, my day zero people aren't a catalyst to what shouldn't have been done, but they were the encouraging voices. The persons that kept encouraging me that I needed to start my own channel, because they felt that from speaking on other channels that I had something, I had a voice and an opinion that needed to be put out there and not be on somebody else's channel, to be on my own channel to do so. So my day zero people approved this video. Well, at least one of them did earlier. And their reaction was like, well, right there. That was a wonderful video. And one of the emojis that she put up, that Carrie put up there, was tears. So like I said, I want to give everybody a chance to go and get some tissues, Kleenex, toilet paper, paper towel, whatever you wish to have. Because this is something that I'm gonna play. And before anybody worries about this, this is a video that I made. So if another creator wants to use this video, please contact me at my email address. I will have no problem with you using it. My only request is that you do credit my channel, this channel. Or once I do make the official name change, credit my channel for this video. Hello, Miss Lorraine, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate you coming out tonight. Those are the victims from the mass shooting at Uvalde, Texas, Robb Elementary. No, where the wind blows. They're not missing. They're in their final resting place. The teachers and the 19 students that were the victims in Uvalde, Texas. In the past 24, 36 hours, there has been a lot of information coming out. A lot of the body cam footage that has just come out yesterday. The report from the Texas Senate hearing that was for a week about a month ago. And all of it, including the Board of Education meeting that happened 26 hours ago now. That was almost 4 hours long. And I am not a person that ever sits there and says a social justice SJW is ever in the right place. Rain, you're exactly right. Those persons that spoke at that Board of Education meeting last night are exactly right. Sometimes some of the opinions that were voiced, it was not the right place to voice them, but they're not wrong. Every single person, every single officer that responded first and stood in the hallways and shrugged their shoulders. Every single person on that Board of Education needs to go to their office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., with a letter of resignation in hand and beg for them to be able to re-interview and keep their job. Like I said, I am not the person that's going to sit here and call out, and I don't like doing that. But I'm going to use what the teachers, the parents, grandparents, and some of the other parents that have kids in other schools that are in the Uvalde school district. Their children are afraid to go to school. Their school is supposed to start in about a month from now, probably less. The children do not want to go back to that schools. Last night, one of the parents had asked a specific question of, Are you making contingency plans that allow for students to be remote learning, just like they did or had to do during the pandemic? Just like they had to do during the pandemic. Do you know what the school board's response was? We're still working on contingency plans. Honeybee, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate you being here. That was the best answer that whole entire school board gave last night. We're working on contingency plans. Not one of them got on that stage, got behind a microphone and say, "We failed you. We are sorry. This is what we did wrong. This is what happened. And this is what we're doing to correct this." Never was it on there. I was ready to go live last night and have a very calm conversation about this document. Right here. "77 pages." Yeah, I'm scrolling backwards in this towards the beginning. 77 pages report that came out of the Texas Senate hearing of what systems should have been in place, could have been in place, and why they failed. Why was the rooms 111 and 112 so important? Why was the school so important? And this goes beyond this school being 3/10 of a mile from his grandmother's house. Him being the person that is in custody and accused of being the shooter. Or excuse me, apologies. He was actually killed. My apologies. This is the exact school that he went to. In fourth grade, when he was in fourth grade, room 111 and room 112 were his classroom. Something snapped between fourth grade and fifth grade for him. He was described as being a person. The shooter was described as being a pleasure to be in the classroom. Then all of a sudden in fifth grade, his delinquency rate went through the roof. And all of these systems that they had in place to try to combat that from and prevent that from happening failed. To the point when he was a senior in high school that he is not going to graduate because his absentee rate and his grades were just abysmal. And there was no chance for him to graduate. And by the way, what you're seeing on the screen right now is just little clips of what the families of the victims said. You have one kid, and I apologize, I'm not good at the names. She loves swimming, drawing, and vanilla bean frappes from Starbucks. She dreamt of becoming an art teacher one day. Just jumped at me, out at me. A dream that will never happen. Because every person in that police department, every person on that board of education failed the teachers and the students. I'm going to take this down for just a moment here so I don't make anybody dizzy from scrolling but this same document here, I'm just going to look for something that caught my attention earlier. Bear with me just a moment. So one of the big points that were happening during the Texas Senate hearing was conversation about the school security. This took up a bulk of the time. And they went into great detail of what a school system is allowed to do in Texas. They are allowed to have the teachers be armed. They are allowed to have a set number of parents be on campus and be armed. As long as those persons are registered and the school district knows that they're coming onto the school grounds for the purposes of the security of the school, that's legal. The school system has its own police force, CISD. Campus Inter-School Department. this doesn't go for high school through, or excuse me, elementary through high school. You also have UISAD, which is university inter school departments. The Uvalde, I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing the name, so please forgive me, everybody. The Uvalde CISD Police Department was responsible for the security of Uvalde public schools. In 2018, Uvalde CISD established its own police department headquartered at Uvalde High School with 9 different schools and a budget for 6 police officers. What? I didn't catch this before. 9 schools, and they only budgeted 6 police officers. That's one of the failures right there. I'm just I'm flabbergasted. I really am. 9 schools were being policed by 6 officers. It has, let's see, Uvalde CISD oversees more campuses than it has officers, and it has assigned no officer specifically to Robb Elementary. Instead, officers would regularly visit the Robb campus for a walkthrough several times per week, usually lasting from 15 to 45 minutes. If you can't have enough police officers, you cannot budget enough police officers to secure your school, you already have a staff of individuals that are licensed by the state to be in the school, and it's legal for them to be armed. Why are you not implementing that? This would have never gotten to the point that it did. It would have gotten to the point of you had some windows shot out and some kids that were extremely scared because of that. Because this teacher that if they would have been meeting them at the door, and if he pointed a gun in their direction, goodbye. You already shot the school. That teacher is now a hero because he or she just defended the whole entire school. As directed by state legislation enacted in 2019, Uvalde CISD adopted a policy for responding to an active shooter emergency. and Uvalde CISD deserves credit for having done so. They are one of the few Texas school districts recognized by the School Safety Center as having submitted a viable active shooter policy. Then why wasn't it followed? $19 kids and 2 teachers. Honeybee, you got exactly what I mean. You got exactly what I mean. There's one of the things that the school system is legally allowed to do is have armed teachers. Oh, Carrie, it gets worse than that. It gets worse than that. Do you know that there was a police officer on the street that watched him go into the building? Watched him shoot the windows out on one side of the building and go into the building. This is what I mean. The first responders need to go in tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., with in one hand their resignation and the other one beg for them to be allowed to interview to keep their job. Gary, you were part of my live when we were talking about it when it very first happened. I said to you, it started outside the building. Something happened outside the building first. Not knowing at that time what it was. Because of where the police officers were gathering outside. Started with him crashing a vehicle into the drain ditch that was across the field. Yes. That was his inability to handle a vehicle properly. He had shot his grandmother in the face, took the vehicle approximately 3/10 of a mile, could not navigate a turn, and landed up in the ditch. Bossman Blake, how are you doing tonight? Thank you very much for joining me. Bear with me a second here. I didn't have a link posted. Guys, this is for Bossman Blake. I'm leaving a spot open and keeping a spot open. If Bossman Blake is ready, he's welcome and wanting to join me. He's more than welcome to. I also sent out an invite to join me tonight. Bossman, you're good. I know you have a big music scene thing that you do. And you see me in there when you've been playing music, so I understand completely. Not a problem, boss man. I'm just going over the report that it actually, folks. If you want to know where I got this report from, Bossman Blake is the person to give credit for that. He emailed it to me yesterday or very early yesterday morning. And as I could, I went over this reading as much as I possibly could. And like I said, you caught my reaction to what I missed. I missed something, and it just 6 officers signed to 9 schools. I completely had missed that. That's not acceptable. When it comes to the safety of children in schools, 9 officers, or excuse me, 6 officers for 9 schools is not acceptable. Not in this day and age. I was born in the late 70s. I went to school in the 80s and 90s. You didn't need to have an officer in schools. Now you do. And it's not 6 officers for 9 schools. It's 18 for 9 schools. And that could be working with the parents, working with the teachers, working with whatever they have to do. A school should be more secure than Fort Knox. Where the wind blows, I will agree with you. There are some areas that you don't have to worry about things like that. But you still understand my point. There's other measures that some areas can get away with that some areas cannot get away with. Some places having the secure door where they can be only open from the inside to exit and not re-enter without somebody being aware of you coming back in is secure enough. But there are schools that need to have multiple officers. Just look at Chicago. And I'm probably spinning on you guys a little bit here. Just take a look at Chicago for an example. So far this year, and this is not counting today because I believe the article was from yesterday that I was reading, 344 persons have met their demise because of violence. uncalled for, unnecessary violence. We're just over halfway through the year. 49 days past halfway of the year. And we're talking a number greater than 300. We're almost at a point where in South Chicago, it's one person per day for the year. And we're just over halfway through the year. There you go. Just had another one yesterday. Just to put that in a possibility of understanding, that's up almost 40% from last year. It is up almost 40% from last year. Retro, that is an interesting point. I'd be more than happy and willing to say, yes, let's go ahead and get MPs in the schools if that's what it must be. But somebody that's retired from military or military medically excused, I think they don't need to be in that type of situation. But if they're active military and they're an MP, absolutely, let's get them in their school systems tomorrow. Bossman Blake and John Q and I were on top of this story from the get-go. One of the very early questions we asked is, why was that door open? Why was that door open? What was wrong with that door that it could not lock itself, be secured? Because at one time there was a report that came out that was on a maintenance to-do list to fix. Why was that not high priority? Was it the hinge system that closed the door, or the mechanism itself that was latching the door? What was wrong? The Board of Education won't address that, folks. They will not come out and address it. Yes, I am still heated over what I read yesterday and what I heard at that Board of Education meeting. Boss Man Blake, thank you very much for joining me. I thank you very much.
No problem, bro. I'm still working, but I gotta join this conversation because it's some things that I just want to point out to make sure you heard and everybody else heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It really bothers me on not only the mistakes, if you want to call it a mistake from the PD.
It's incompetence is what it is.
I agree 100%. But if you see the video I put up on my page the other day, it said that they had an app that they were trying to send a message out to all the parents. Had issues, Wi-Fi issues. You people put they trust in you to take care of their kids. And then the app don't work. You got an intercom system where you can say this through the whole school. You didn't do that either.
Yep.
Who are giving these people jobs?
Exactly. Yeah, boss man, you're about 2 steps ahead of me.
Oh, my fault, bro.
No, you're great. You're great. We're going to go right into that. What I was just doing, I was just laying some groundwork of explaining the different policing systems that the school system should have, and needed to, but never did properly employ that was legal for them to do so under Texas law.
Yeah, my fault. Hey,
No. You're great. You're great. I just want to make sure everybody else knows. Don't apologize. I'm just saying we're getting there. Hang on to that. We're getting there. In fact, let's go ahead and jump to that because I pretty much was done with what I was wanting to do about the police forcing and what they could be doing. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna go on mute. Like I said, I'm gonna be in and out. I just want to jump in because it was just bothering me. I had to say something.
No. You just were ahead of me. That's all. That's all I was saying. And I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about. Okay. It starts right in here. All right. Where this is again, it's still the report that came out from the Texas Senate, and it goes. It's you were Bousman, you were a step ahead. That's all it was. It was just one step ahead, and because we were talking about the active shooter plan, it's right here. Okay. Active shooter policy outlined a series of preventative safety measures that served the primary preventative strategy to address the problems of violence, vandalism, disruption, and fear. The district employs 4 officers. Yeah.
You know, you can put me and you to the side so they can actually see the document.
Did I not have that done?
There you go. There you go. Because I was like, we can't see the document. All right, there you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I thought I had it already set up that way before, or actually I thought I had it set up where it was like supposed to be like this. But hey, that's just, I appreciate you pointing that out, that it wasn't holding the way I had it set at one point. Rain, the school was supposed to be on lockdown. It was supposed to be on lockdown. A partnership with local law enforcement. Local law enforcement agencies are invited to come to any of our campuses and while they are on patrol. UCISD provides free breakfast or lunch to any law enforcement personnel visiting our campuses. I used to work for a company, and the store I worked in, it was a convenience store, and we were open 24/7. The only time we closed was on Thanksgiving and on Christmas. We closed early those days. Or we closed for those days. My apologies. Anytime a police officer came in and got a soft drink or a coffee, we never charged them. It's not anything to do with any sort of bribery or anything like that. It's to encourage the police officers to take a 5-minute break, patrol our stores, and patrol the store, and to keep the store secure. So this is actually a great thing right here. And for just as easy it is for the office to keep a fresh pot of coffee on and have paper cups for an officer to come in for a cup of coffee. Just as easy. Threat assessment teams. Every campus employs an interdisciplinary team of trained professionals that convene to identify, evaluate, classify, and address threats or potential threats to school security. This is a failure. This is a failure. This is what I was saying going back to that room 111, room 112 was the shooter's classroom when he went to school for 4th grade. They knew this student personally. They had track record of this student having issues. And systems failed. They were supposed to be in place so that they could take appropriate response and intervention. This includes notification and involvement of parents, suicide risk assessments, and development of written safety plans. Once again, folks, just a reminder, I am not this is not advocating for somebody to do something or anything like that, take any sort of risk, or if you have mental health issues and you have thoughts that you need help or that scare you, seek help. Okay? I know I just said a word that is as far as YouTube is concerned, it's a bad word, but I am just quoting this document. Part of the UCISD utilizes Social Sentinel to monitor all social media with a connection to the Uvalde as a measure to identify possible threats that might be made against a student or a staff within the school district. Here's another failure. Perimeter fencing. It was not good enough. Radios. If you watch the body cam footage, every single time an officer tries to key up, they get a negative response. Meaning their system will not allow them to get a radio break so they can transmit or hear what is going on their radio system. Well, we know the locked classroom door policy, that was true. Police officers had problems finding the right key to a door that wasn't even locked. Failure of the school board system, staff training. There's no way that the school board or the police department can get in front of the people and say that staff was properly trained. I don't care if they had drills every single morning with the parents, with the teachers. They failed. They failed to protect the kids. That's the only thing that matters. Alert, ALERRT, standard for active shooter training. This is what Bossman Blake was talking about. There is a software program, and as soon as I get to it here, hang on one second, I apologize. Everybody, for the chat, the document spinning. This is what it's supposed to look like. It's an app that the teachers can that the teachers download, have a login, and it alerts them on their cell phone. And it allows them to alert other teachers as well. Simple app, 5 options. Options are lockdown, secure, evacuate, shelter, or hold. I am not convinced by anything that I have heard from either the police department or the school board yesterday or this report itself that Uvalde was using it. Thank you, Carrie, for posting that in the chat room. It is a link for the National Help Hotline. Yeah, they had it, but did they implement it? I don't believe they did. I don't believe that they were trained. One of the points that somebody got up, and I don't believe they were a parent that had a child in Uvalde School District, identified himself in the Board of Education meeting as being military trained, and that he helps school districts with training for this exact app. Got up there and said, I volunteer my time. Let's set it up so we make sure that this doesn't happen again this school year. They shrugged him off. They didn't even say, hey, look, send us your resume. We'll be in touch with you. They completely shrugged him off. Right. Retro. The thing is that you're never, ever going to prevent every single thing from happening. That's an incident where the kid didn't want to be in school. He wanted to go and do what he wanted to do. The fencing around this school was inadequate. There's so many failures of what happened. And like I was saying, it goes all the way back to when he was in fifth grade. Between fourth grade and fifth grade, something snapped and they just ignored it. They just ignored it. They never intervened. They never, or excuse me, if they did intervene, it was a threat to take him to court.
So my question is, being that they stated that the door was something that they had on the list of things they needed to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Are they saying there was no way to lock that door? Because from also reading more of the report or listening to the news article, that wasn't the only door that was left unlocked.
You're right.
So even if that door was functioning correctly, you had another door unlocked on I think it was the south end,
Mm-hmm.
the other way, the other side that the other officers came in. Hmm. See, I just feel like it's the teachers today, and please forgive me if anyone got anyone who's teaching. This doesn't go for every teacher, just like my feelings for every cop. They look at it as a job. No, you're actually creating a future for these kids. And when these parents send their kids to the school, you are responsible for them for those 8 hours that they're there. People are putting their trust in you to take care of their kids and teach their kids. Now, these kids can make a big fuss about going back to their school this year. And they will have to understand that because the trust that the little kids may have had in law enforcement, that shit is gone.
Long gone.
Not only law enforcement, they're teachers. Now, I salute that one teacher that was in that room that got shot because one of the kids did say she jumped and she took the bullets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say not all teachers. She took her job seriously. Like, if my daughter was to happen to see this on whatever, on her phone, on social media, and she say, "Dad, I don't want to go to school," I would have to understand that. And it will break your heart to know that you send your kid to school and they fear for their life every day. You'll feel less of a parent for making them go through that shit, man.
Here it is, boss man. You were just saying what was wrong with the door. Due to key shortage, Robb Elementary substitute teachers often were instructed to use the magnet system to circumvent the locks in violation of school district policy. That's not a substitute teacher's fault. I'm not going to blame a substitute teacher.
They just looking to point the finger at somebody, man.
No, you're right. They are going to figure. That's exactly what they're looking to do. Is they're looking at to find out where the system failed. But as I said earlier, the system failed when this student was in fifth grade.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
there is multiple systems that failed. You're going to give a substitute teacher instruction to use a magnet to prevent the door from locking because there's not enough keys to go around.
Karen, I don't know who Adam Lanza is, but she said he shot his way through locked doors, and that's possible. That can happen. That can happen. But guess what? We can't put blame on nobody else because everything that was done was supposed to be done. We can't. They can't stop everything. We understand that. But one thing, and I don't know if you want to go into this yet.
Go for it, man. I don't know where you're going. Let's go for it.
When that dude entered the building, we of course know he knew what classroom he was going to.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see once he got to that door? Let me just ask you: do you think that door was open?
The security, what was supposed to
The
be
classroom,
the security door?
No, the classroom door. I don't know if you watched that footage and watched when he walked to
So,
that door. What did he do before he walked in that door? He
oh, that,
shot.
yeah.
He shot. To me, he didn't check to see if that door was locked because I don't think the door was shut.
No, he shot his way in the door. Not that he had to blow the door lock off. Let's be
Exactly.
clear. He shot his way into the door, meaning that door was either he opened it or it was already open and he closed it behind him.
Exactly. So think about it. If the door was closed and locked and he had to shoot it open, there's no way he could have closed it back, right?
Correct. Should
That door
have.
was open.
Should have.
That door was open. That door was open. And I don't understand why.
Well, that's where I said that we're going to skip that section and really past that section. Other than if anybody wants to know, this is information on the actual shooter himself. And this is where I was getting the information from that he actually went to that school and that room 111, 112 was his classroom. He knew exactly where he was going. He knew exactly what he was doing. Do not buy into this idea that this person had mental health issues and that they were the problem.
That kid ain't have mental health issues. He put in his manifesto that he's never been diagnosed, he's never been tested, he is mentally sane. No, excuse me. I'm putting that on the wrong person. That's the Buffalo Trooper.
I was going to say,
excuse what I said. Hey, it's so much going on in this world. I'm running things together. My fault. Excuse.
No. You're good. You're good. You caught yourself. I'm good with that. I don't care what his educational background says, that he had a learning disability or he had this problem or that problem. There's some familial problems. It still goes back to something happened between 4th grade and 5th grade. And why are we not getting that answer? What happened?
Maybe because his mom couldn't control him, and that's why he went and lived with his grandmother.
That's a possibility that this report does not address.
And we still don't know, unless because I haven't read the whole report yet. We still don't know why he shot his grandmother.
Yeah, his grandmother survived, by the way.
Right, she did, and I'm waiting for her to speak because she'll be able to tell us a lot. Going from that day, and I'm surprised that the grandfather hasn't told us more of his history while he lived with them, because that would definitely help as well.
Look at this right here. I said I wasn't going to focus much on the shooter, but look at this right here. By 2021, at age 17, the attacker had only completed the 9th grade. On October 28, 2021, Uvalde High School involuntarily withdrew him, citing poor academic performance and lack of attendance. They expelled him permanently.
Wow. Wow. Now I know from what I know happens here in Georgia, if your kid miss a lot of days of school, you go to jail. I don't know if it's like that in any other states, but they will take you to jail as a parent if your kid continually miss school.
They will, yes. Most states will. Most states will go and say your son is truant. You're refusing to enforce the laws of making him go to school. You're accountable. Not only is that student going to be brought into court, you're now coming into court, criminal court, because your negligence.
And if they couldn't control him and make him go, call the law. You got to take this. Don't be responsible if you're trying. And I'm pretty sure there's no reports that say, hey, I can't get my kid to go to school. I'm just going to send him to his grandmother. Maybe she can deal with him. It's bullshit.
Richard, the reason we're saying do not feed us, do not spoon feed us a story of mental health is because right now in the United States, for as much as mental health is a problem that needs to be addressed, it is too often the fallback of this person had mental health problems and this is why he did it, and leave it as a blanket of the answer.
And let them walk free. Hell no.
Exactly.
And she's right. That's the first thing they go to is mental health, because that's exactly what they're gonna do. That's why a Buffalo shooter pled not guilty, because that's his only scapegoat that he can lean on.
Well, in hindsight, to him pleading not guilty, it's actually proven to be a good thing because of what happened last week with the federal charges. Now there's federal charges on him as well.
Right, which he can get death.
Exactly.
Man. Oh man. Just watching that footage from the school and the body cam, it's just
Ugh.
it's disgusting, bro. It's disgusting. Like, I was watching one of the body cam footage where they were outside getting ready to come in. One of them, he was taking his time. I don't know if he was tired because he was running, but by the time he got close to the door, he's walking, and you can look in the glass of the window, the door he was walking in. He was just taking his time walking. Dude, there's a fucking shooter in there killing kids, man. What are you doing?
Oh, the cops had no idea where he was. They actually went past the classroom and didn't know where he was until they start hearing shots from the classroom.
I'm glad you brought that up. Arredondo, though, I think the chief of police made a statement saying he didn't know that there was kids still in the classroom. But when you take a look at the body cam footage, he's on his phone, and he made a statement that proved that was a lie. We don't want nothing else happening to anyone else. There's already ones in the classroom, but you said you didn't know anyone was in there. He got to understand, he put himself in this shit. If this dude keep his job, I know he done got, promoted to another position, but if he keep his job, that's a problem.
With this report and everything that it says, there is no possible way, unless he has dirt on somebody, that he keeps his job. If he keeps his job, he knows exact details of what skeleton is in somebody's closet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's big.
Yep. Might be a bigger reason that this happened. You never know.
The guy, I can't say his name. I'm not going to pretend to say his name. You just said it a moment ago. That's the CISD police chief. this is where I kind of started. I didn't start exactly where this tonight, but he's the very first person that needs to be 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, going into the superintendent's office, going into the mayor's office. Here's my letter of resignation. I'd appreciate you allowing me an opportunity to re-interview and try to keep my job, but I know that's not reality. Save everybody the time of having a hearing and having a union interfere, and he needs to just resign.
Yep. That'll be his best bet.
I'm being handed some information here. Hang on 1 second. Yes, I have seen that. I'm being asked in my Discord, so forgive me. Have I seen a particular video? It is the body cam footage that came out yesterday because of copyright restrictions with the news that actually came out with that. I'm not sharing that video, but at the end of this stream, I will put a link to it in the description of this if anybody wants to see that video, the body cam footage.
They put up
It
copyright.
actually, I'm sorry.
They put up copyright restrictions on that.
WFAA. Yep, the news channel did it.
Okay, well, because I saved a bunch of them to a playlist, and a couple of them I used on my video. I don't know if that's the one that you're talking about, but I didn't get any copyrights on it.
This is the one that just came out yesterday.
Yeah, I seen like about 4 or 5 different body cam footages. I haven't seen the one when they was at his grandmother's house.
Oh, I had seen where a couple of channels actually were trying to use that, and they got that. They got a. It's not a strike. It's the other one. It's that the well often happen with YouTube. They were getting hit with in the middle of their video of what they were doing.
Okay.
Oh, that one came out 7 days ago.
I used the one. A lot of them that I use, I think is like VUE.
Okay.
That's the ones that I haven't had an issue with that yet.
Well, let's go ahead and real quickly see how long this video is. Okay, it's a 10-minute video. I'll do it in a couple of different segments here. We'll go ahead and take a look at it.
Okay.
I'm not a monetized channel, so I really don't worry about that. But let's go and take a look at it. What's the worst thing that can happen is I have to go back in and edit this out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll have no problem because I would have been got a notification in my email.
Mm-hmm. So, boss man, what I'm going to do real quick is I do need to step away and hit the men's room real quick. So I am going to play this, mute myself. If you want to leave yourself unmuted so you can make a comment or need to make a comment or anything, please feel free to. But I will be right back.
Are you about?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Now this is the one that from WF. I don't know who this is. I don't know what website this is. Excuse me, YouTube channel this is. I never heard of this one. Well, check it out. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of Copyright Act 1976, allowances are made for fair use for criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, research, and educational purposes. Now, of course, we're going to see 2 subjects come from the school. I don't know who those subjects are. I don't know if they work for the school. My assumption is yes. Also, my assumption would be they have walkie-talkies on them. But we know what happened when you assume. They beat this guy back to the school. They beat him back to the school. That school should have been locked down as soon as they got in that building. Point blank, period. There's nowhere around it. Why? Because he's finna shoot at him. They know he got a gun. So obviously they know. And then, of course, when they show the footage inside the school, you hear a teacher actually stating, telling the kids to get in the classroom, get in the classroom. She knows as well. Why aren't those doors locked at that time? Do your job. Don't be held responsible for these kids losing their life and your fellow teachers. Come on, man.
I apologize. I didn't know there was no audio. Thank you, boss man. I appreciate that. So I came right back in when the two first officers respond came sprinting across the parking lot. Is that what I was seeing?
So you're saying those are officers?
I would hope they were. I was coming back at the same time that I was seeing 2 people running to the school.
I don't believe those is officers.
Okay.
If those was officers, that's a problem for me. I think they just work for the school. They could have been security. I believe they probably was security. Then again, I don't know. But if they were officers, when they said the first officer that arrived on the scene rode past him somewhere in this area because he was hiding behind a vehicle. That's what I read. That was the first officer. Now, who those guys was, I have no idea.
Okay, I didn't see the timestamp at first, and now that I'm looking at a timestamp, it was definitely not an officer that we saw running across the parking lot.
Yeah, that's when he had just wrecked his vehicle, and they went out to help him, and he shot at him, so they ran back. So they already in the school.
Mm-hmm.
The school should have been locked down by the time this guy walked. He took his time. Right,
guys, trigger warning, just so you know, I don't remember how the sequence of this event's going. This is him and he entering the school. Now that kid was smart. He ran.
Went back into the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
But real quick.
Yep.
Do you notice how he peeked around that corner like he knew something was up? Did you notice that?
Yeah. Here, let's go back and take a look at it. Guys, again, because I apologize.
He didn't see him walk. Now, I understand if he would have seen him come in the door with a gun. Yeah, I would have peeked around the corner too. But I don't even think he saw this guy walk in that school door.
I believe I went back about 10, 15 seconds before the incident of the kid peeking around the corner. There he is. He's coming out of something right there.
That's the bathroom.
He notices.
He knew something was up before he even got around that corner.
He got around that corner enough where this door up here was blocking any sign of giving him a chance to stay safe. Could see around it and realize there's a problem And as soon as he heard that gunfire, he was, I'm out.
But my question is, why did he walk around that corner so slow? He knew something was wrong. So
Right,
to me, go ahead.
I'm saying that he had the angle to see him, the shooter, walk down the hall here before he approached that classroom, saw something was like, this person does not belong here moment, and he stopped to see what was going on before he went down the hall himself.
Just rewind it. Watch how before he could even see that someone was down that hallway. Watch how he walks carefully. It's almost like a lion trying to walk in stealth. Watch. He slow. You see that? See that? Who walks
Yeah.
like that?
Okay. All right. I see what you're saying. He there was a hesitation there to what he was him walking.
Like
There
any
was
kid
clearly
who's
a
coming from the
hesitation there.
bathroom and it's time to go back to the classroom, they just walk straight to the classroom. They don't hold the wall and peek around the corner.
The only time a school kid would do that is if they were trying to delay going back to the classroom because they didn't want to be participating in the lesson that was ongoing, and they used the bathroom as an excuse. That
Right.
is an activity that either a junior high or a high school kid does, not a kid in third grade. Third, fourth, fifth grade kids are still excited to be in school.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, I'm just catching up my chat room, my chat here real quick. Carrie, thank you very much. I didn't throw this up before, and I'm sure Bossman Blake had said this, but I'm gonna.
Did. I had your back, bro.
I appreciate that. I didn't think about it before I had to use the bathroom, so I am going to go ahead and throw this up real quick because, Bossman, you were so kind. You and John Q were so kind to have my back on this. I kept it in the email so I won't lose it. Bear with me just 1 second here, guys. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, and news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might be otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I do not monetize ever. I am not making profit off this. This is purely for commentary and for educational purposes of what happened in this tragedy.
And RJ, I'm gonna drop down real quick. I'm gonna come back. I got 2 more songs to this guy. I'm pretty much done with it. So I'll be right back, bro.
All right, man. I appreciate you joining me.
Oh, no problem, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you, man.
So we are going back to the video that we were just watching here. And guys, I apologize that this is disturbing, but this is what happened. This is what the media is not talking about. This is the failures that happened. Again, I apologize. This is what happened. Not something. It's a classroom of kids, and he has to shoot his way into the classroom. Honeybee, you're exactly right. Kids these days, they know the sound. It's part of the reason why he ran. He knew what that sound was before he even saw what was happening. Gonna skip forward a little bit here. Police finally arrive. The police arrived. They knew he was still actively shooting. So I was talking about when the police officers tried to use the radio, they could not get a signal in or out. There's supposed to be a repeater system that the school is supposed to have in place in the school that allows for the police signal to get in and out. The one officer was more worried about his safety and the fact that he thought he was shot, is what you saw at first when that one officer was crouched over right over here. He was not worried about the safety of the students. He was worried about himself. The layout of the building that Miss Lorraine, the layout of the building from what we understand afterward, is that he actually was hiding in the bathroom.
Yesterday, Joe Biden tried to shake an invisible man's hand. Not the first time he's done this.
Okay, so I somehow have knocked myself out of my stream. Bear with me just a moment here. Let's see if I'm echoing now. Be right back, guys. I'm sorry. All right, here we go. I somehow had lost my own stream there for a moment, folks. I apologize. I am back now, though. So, Miss Lorraine, you had asked a question. I don't know if you had heard me. Miss Lorraine, I apologize. Like I said, I accidentally lost my stream for a moment, but I am back. I did see your question. Where did that little boy go? From what we found out from the layout of the school, that's actually a bathroom. And that bathroom is where that's a little boy's room. And he went and hid in that little boy's room. That he ducked around that corner. So that's what he did. Now, Carrie, you're exactly right. There is no excuse for what happened. There is no excuse. And you guys are exactly right. It's inhumane what happened. What those kids, what they suffered through, what they are still going through every day that they now are alive. And this is what the whole to-do at the Board of Education meeting is all about. How do we handle the mental, psychological, and social development of these students that are survivors of this incident? How do we now help them? I said right after this incident happened, And when I say right after, I mean it was later that day, the next day at the latest, that those children must return to that school within a week. They should have returned to that school within a week. I am not saying go back to that classroom. Go back to the school. Children should have been assessed, or at least a baseline of assessment immediately for things like PTSD, for other problems that they're now going to have to live with. Double rainbows, you're exactly right. At that time, I had said that even if it is not to have a day of classes, throw something together where you have a ceremony just like what was happening that morning. These kids in this classroom had an award ceremony that morning. It wasn't that they were having an award ceremony a week before. It was that morning. They had 2 days left of school. The school district started to fail these students that survived already. They should have had something planned, even if it's a field event outside. Where they, by having them there and having activities planned for them, show them that despite what happened, their school is safe. Plan a half-day activity, a fun day, to end the school year on a positive note, and have the other half of the day where they're being sitting down with bereavement counselors, whatever you want to classify them as being, where they're talking to the students and getting a baseline assessment of where they are, so they can already start identifying which students need the most help immediately. But they didn't. The school board, the school district, the police department, the town failed these students that were in this school when this happened already. This is why I'm saying it's important that 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, that the people at the Board of Education meeting last night had it right. Not only does the Board of Education need to go into the mayor's office or whoever they report to, if it's like where I live in Tennessee, it's the county. Resignation in one hand, begging to be allowed to keep their job in the other hand, hoping that the person that they have to turn their resignation into says, I'm not accepting your resignation. Same thing needs to happen with that CISD. There is no other way around this at this point. Honeybee, exactly. You summed up exactly the way I feel. In order to make these children feel safe, they are going to have to take big actions. They failed them once, but now us to not fail them ever again. Until this report came out, I actually wanted my thought of what I was going to do tonight was a story on Tops Grocery, Buffalo, New York. Oreo, how are you doing? My goal tonight was actually going to be a story on how Tops Grocery in 2 months' time, since the mass shooting happened there, did a complete redesign on that store. Put up a memorial in that store. I'm glad to hear that, Oreo. But that will happen in a couple of days. This is just so huge what has come out. In 36 hours time. I watched as much as I possibly could of that Senate hearing, the Texas Senate hearing. So I knew that this report coming out was going to be ugly. There was no ifs, and or buts about it. It was going to be ugly for Uvalde, for the police department, for the school district. I'm not calling on anybody. I'm not a social justice warrior type. Never going to be a social justice warrior type. But I'm going to stand here, or sit here rather, and say what the call to action that was spoken many times, that Board of Education meeting, needs to be followed through on. Double rainbows. The only time when I was in schools, the only time I ever remember having any sort of drill that was to get out of the building was a fire drill. Every other drill we had was where to hide. I didn't go to a school system that was along the coast, but it was in the Philadelphia metro area. And if it was in climate weather and we had a fire drill, and that time they would call it a storm drill when that happened. It was about where to go if a bad storm happened. Just like they do in the South with the tornado drills in their school systems now. And many other states that are in Tornado Alley. Our system, my school was where to hide if it's in climate weather. Goodness forbid that, a snowstorm all of a sudden get worse than they predicted, which living up there, it happens. And a fire were to break out. Where's the safe place? Where's the best place for you to go? That's the kind of drills we had. I can't comprehend what it would be like to have to go through the type of drills that these students are going through now. I'm not sure I want to comprehend it. Because the students are owed two things when they go to school: an education and a safe place to learn in. They don't need to have the stress of worrying that somebody's going to come into their school with a gun and start shooting. Oh, Carrie, I have an idea. I really do have an idea of what you're typing right this second, and I want to see what it is, because if it's what I'm thinking in my head while you're typing it, I'll go ahead and say when I'm thinking it. Unless it is legal and the school system is aware. Bingo, Carrie. Unless it is legal for them to be with a weapon of some sort, and the school is aware that they are going to do so. Not, hey, I'm walking up 5 seconds later, I'm in the building with it. No, this is I'm on a registered list that's done at the beginning of the school year, that they have time to evaluate, they have time to certify, they have time to, whatever the law allows them to do it to the maximum enforceable, whether it's a psychology assessment or whatever. Unless that person's on that list, they aren't getting 5 feet inside the door. Oh, Carrie, what did I just say? They aren't getting 5 feet inside that door. I'm going to bear with me a moment. I just remembered a clip that I'm going to play that I wasn't planning on playing tonight. See if I can find the video. I know it's on Facebook, or at least I'm pretty sure it is. And it is a school that I want to say is in Southwest Texas. That even before this happened, and I apologize for my hesitation here and saying this slow. I've played it on, or I've had Bossman Blake or John Q play it before. I don't think this is it that I found it, but this is an interesting one. This actually might be it. Clarksville School System. I think that was the name of the school system. Watch this story, guys. Watch the story. I'll know. I'll know by the end of it what if it's the right story. I am taking this from 5newsonline.com. It is their story, just as I showed earlier. It's Clarksville, Arkansas. And just as I did say earlier, protection under the Fair Use Act still applies, even though I'm playing a different video.
McGaw RV of Springdale is now Moik's RV McGaw Outpost. Two great RV families, each with decades of experience, now all under one roof. We are Northwest Arkansas's exclusive Jayco dealer. Shop our inventory
A couple more seconds
anytime
of
online.
that. I apologize.
Read our awesome review.
I'm Darren Bob.
And I'm Erica Thomas. It's been 1 week since a shooter opened fire in a Texas school, killing 21 students and teachers. And now school safety is top of mind.
Yeah, 5 News reporter Catherine Gilker went to Clarksville, where the district has staff members in each school who are trained to carry guns.
Clarksville Superintendent David Hopkins says it was after the Sandy Hook school shooting almost a decade ago that they knew they needed to do more to keep their students safe. With state legislation and school board approval, the district was able to implement the Commission School Security Program in 2013. They were one of the first districts to implement armed faculty and staff.
The people that we've selected to help us with this program have been really great people. They're intelligent, educated, and they do well with training.
The district has around 20 staff members across their 5 campuses who conceal carry guns, including Superintendent Hopkins. They also have 1 school resource officer for all their campuses. He says locally the program has been very well received and supported.
In order to provide multiple people in each building that are armed and are always going to be there, that redundancy is built into it. I feel like that you have to go out to your staff for that, just given the cost of trying to have that many armed personnel on a campus.
Those staff members train multiple times a year with range training and active shooter response training. Today, those staff members were having their active shooter response training by SRTS Incorporated, led by Joshua McMillan. He says the training these staff members are getting is the same training as law enforcement officers receive across our state.
When an officer responds and they meet up with a school security professional, they're on the same page with their tactics, with their response, and that school security official is actually taught to let law enforcement lead the way when they arrive on scene and to just act as what we call a force multiplier.
Superintendent Hopkins says the reality is there will be more school shootings, and he believes the best response is having multiple trained and armed people in each school building at all times.
What we have to do and what every school district has to do is self-examine and determine, are they prepared? Are they ready for something like that? I mean, it's a tragic situation, and it's horrible to even try to get your mindset in a way to think about those things that occur, but we have to.
In Clarksville, covering news where you live, Catherine Gilker, 5 News.
Kate Fletcher with the Arkansas chapter of Moms Demand Action released the following.
I apologize. It took me a moment to come back. It wanted to keep playing that video. And I did cut it off early. It was not the story that I thought it was. But that article had a stupid statement at the end that I didn't want to tolerate. That news story had a stupid statement that I didn't want to tolerate. But anyway, I apologize. Yeah, that was my own fault, Connie B. It just wouldn't unmute. It wanted to keep playing that article, that news story, and didn't want to unmute me. StreamYard has been a little funky as of late. I've heard many creators complaining about it. I've had a couple issues with it. And I'm hoping that it was the only issue I have tonight. Going back to the report that the Texas State Senate had came out with. Well, a vague idea for a school shooting appears to have been in the attacker's mind as early as late 2021. He began to pursue his evil plan in early 22. After failing out with his mother, a falling out with his mother, a blowout argument between them was live streamed on Instagram, and several members of their family viewed it. Although sheriff's deputies respond to a call, they made no arrests. Soon afterwards, the attacker left home and moved in with his grandmother, just blocks away from Robb Elementary. His relationship with his mother never improved. He retained similar antipathy toward his father, and I'm probably mispronouncing that word. I apologize. Who also saw him about a month before the event happened. The father felt his son had no love for him, left for him. Just pause right there. His family realized there was a disassociation issue. No, I am not trying to play doctor. I am not trying to pretend I am a doctor. I am not trying to pretend I can diagnose him. But what does that say? What does that sentence say? The father felt his son had no love left for him. Add on to that his online persona, his name was School Shooter. Soon as the attacker turned 18, May 16, 2022, just 1 week before the shooting took place, May 24th, he was finally able to purchase guns and ammunition. He couldn't complete the 9th grade. Regardless of his age, he couldn't complete the 9th grade. Why is he being able to beyond, this goes beyond any constitutional right. He should have never been allowed to purchase a weapon. The owner of the gun store described him as an average customer with no red flags or suspicious conditions. Wow. Oh, wait, there's more. Patrons of the store who saw him told a different story in FBI interviews, saying after the tragedy that the person was very nervous looking. Very nervous looking individual. Thank you, Carrie, for putting that up there again. Just a reminder, this content is a discussion and opinion and is alleged. Although the opinions and that is alleged is information coming from the document that was issued from the Texas Senate. We still have to say it's opinionated and alleged. Carrie always has my back, and so does Cosplay on that. That's part of the reason why they are my mods. They know that I will sometimes speak something, and I don't think twice about what I speak, and they have my back on things like that. So I always appreciate them very, very much. Background check was conducted, and this individual did qualify for the purchases. While multiple gun sales within such a short period of time, within such a short period are and were reported to the ATF, the law only requires purchases of handguns to be reported to the local sheriff. Online interactions involving this person continued to foreshadow a tragedy. In March 2022, an Instagram group conversation, a student told him that people at school talk expletive about you and call you school shooter. Later, this person began referencing a timeline. On April 2nd, he asked in a direct message on Instagram, "Are you still going to remember me in 50-something days?" After the answer, probably not, with an emoji. And this is a copy of that conversation, or part of that conversation. Not going to go into details of that any more than I did. So this is what has happened in the minutes before and the minutes after the incident started. I'm not going to read into every single detail. However, I will bring up just so everybody has a reference of, I've mentioned it before. Bear with me just a moment here, guys. I appreciate your patience with me. This is Robb Elementary School. This is that water ditch, that water ravine, the water runoff, however you wish to refer to it, that he crashed. The parking lot, you can see him running across. Entrance point to the building here. Entrance to the building to the building here. Here. This is the office area. And here. This is the entrance he used. This is approximately, I don't remember which one, and I'm not going to try to figure out which one. I'm not publicizing which one. This is approximately, sorry, it was on Diaz, not Villa, where his grandmother and him resided. This is the 0.3 of a mile trip that he made from approximately here up Diaz, down South Grove Street. He could navigate this sharp turn here, but he could not navigate, could not be bothered to, or intentionally crash the truck that he was in to this ravine. People at this funeral home heard what happened, heard the commotion. Employees stepped outside to find out what was going on and were shot at in that direction, so they ducked back inside. it was approximately here where he was when the police rode by as he ducked behind vehicles that were in this parking lot area. As he came up along the building, shot out windows in classrooms along this window, this side of the building. Gained entrance into the building, classroom 111, 112. Would have been right about here. As you saw in the surveillance video that we've already played, he gained entrance into that building, in those classrooms. And we know what happened now for the next 73 minutes. "73 minutes. "73 minutes. For approximately half the time that this stream has been going. It's 2 hours and 40, almost 2 hours and 42 minutes. For approximately half the time that we've been going over this tonight, this individual was in a classroom with 9 and 10-year-olds. If you saw the video that I played at the start of this tonight, and I will play it at the end again, I'm not wrapping up yet. Don't think I am. I still have a couple more things before I do so I want to go over. One of the girls wore a shirt that would to me says it was her 10th birthday. Said youth no longer single digits. I'm number 10. She just turned 10. Exactly where the wind blows. She's still a baby. There's the little girl I'm talking about. Read what her shirt says. This is Aletha Haven Ramirez. Aletha is remembered as talented and big-hearted. She was a gifted artist who wanted to go to art school in Paris one day. She was also a mature role model to her siblings and was thoughtful about helping those in need. Let's remember, yeah. The document, if anybody wants to see the report that the Texas gave them, if they have not ran across a copy of it, I will be more than happy to send it to you. It is a 77-page report. If you want a copy of the report, you can email me. Email is rjrjchannel1. That's the number 1 at yahoo.com. And before anybody would raise an issue with other people getting your email address or anything like that, it will not be sent out in a group email. I will send it out individually to people that want it, and nobody but I will know what your email address is, and I will not contact you other than giving you what you asked for. I'm just throwing it out there as an option where the wind blows. In the 77-page document, clip little things like I just read about Aletha are on every single student and the teachers. Three pages worth of information on all the students and teachers. Thank you, Carrie, for throwing my email address up in the chat room there. If anybody wants it, I have it on the screen. Like I said, if you want the copy of the 77-page document, you are welcome to see it. You are welcome to have a copy of it. I have no problem with sending it to you. The photos I did that slideshow at the beginning where I found online. Well, here's the thing. It's shocking. It really is. It's shocking. But here's the good thing. It's shocking. We as a society have not become so numb to something like this that we think of it as just an everyday event or occurrence that can happen in the country. Honeybee, I've actually been through about 90%. I've had to walk away. I got this yesterday, and after I got done working, I tried to go through some of it, and every time I get 3-4 pages into it, I gotta stop. So I can't say I've read every single detail, but I've read the majority of it. Like I've skipped over. How I just skipped over tonight about the shooter? I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know. It's already been publicly made aware. I didn't want to know more. There got to be a point where I didn't want to know more. I watched as much as I possibly could of the Texas State Senate hearing as it was happening. So I didn't need to go read every single page. Is why I'm saying I read about 90% of it. Just to so you guys know. The systems that were in place to protect the students failed the students. You want to hear what happened in the individual classrooms. These are the classrooms that the students were in that hallway at the time. In the West Building, the fourth grade teachers in and around the building also started to initiate lockdown procedures upon hearing about the approaching person. Sasha Martinez taught a fourth grade classroom in room 110 across the hall. It's across the hall. She and her class had left their classroom ahead of the schedule for recess. They were on their way to the playground when they heard a coach yelling, pointing at the roof and yelling them to run. Martinez started to hear gunshots, and her students started running. Some toward the cafeteria, others joining her toward the direction of their classroom in the West Building. Lynn Deming, in room 104, was getting her class ready to go early to recess. She was standing at the south door of the West Building waiting for a child to get a water bottle when her student heading out the south door reported that a coach was yelling at them. She heard pow, pow, and then told her kids to get back in the classroom. Elisa Avila taught fourth grade in room 109. She had lined up her students at 11:30 a.m. to go to recess. Some of the children reported to hear that students from Deming's classroom were returning screaming and crying. She opened the door and did not see anybody, but she heard a female voice saying, "Get in your rooms." She should return to her classroom and slam the door shut, because otherwise the lock would not latch. She slammed her door shut because otherwise the lock would not latch. Says everything right there about the doors, the lock mechanisms that Bossman Blake, when he was up with us just a little bit ago, was saying. Were the lock mechanisms on the individual classroom doors working? No. Nicole Ogburn, the fourth grade teacher in room 102 at the southwest corner of the West Building, heard a sound like metal on brick from the outside. She looked out her window and saw a man in dark clothes with a gun and bag walking up the sidewalk. She told her students to get down. She heard shots coming from the outside into the windows, and she hid underneath a curtain in the room. In room 105, fourth grade teacher Janika Rodriguez received a Raptor alert. That's that system that I was showing you on the phone that had 5 options. Got the Raptor alert of a lockdown at 11:32 a.m. Her students knew what to do and where to hide. She stepped outside and checked her classroom door to ensure it was locked. As she did so, she looked across the hall and locked eyes with another 4th grade teacher, Miss Garcia, who was locking the door to her classroom, room 112. At no time in this did I ever say it was the individual teacher's fault. Hello, Muffin Top. How are you doing tonight? At no time will I ever say it was the individual teacher's fault. The teachers did what they needed to do, what they were led to believe, what they were supposed to do. It was a system. I'm doing well, Muffin Top. Thank you very much for asking. It was a system that failed these students. I wasn't going to do this, but I think it's important to hear this one. If I can get to find this. Forgive me, guys. I'm looking for the school board meeting that happened yesterday. This is from a senior in the high school. This is not the student I spoke of earlier that said that she that was, which is a very impactful statement within itself. This is another student that's speaking.
Okay, this is a freezer, not a time.
Give this a couple seconds. Sorry, guys. It's just a commercial from a website. Again, reminder that this is just for criticism and commentary protected by Section 107 of the Fair Use Act.
Outraged, heartbroken parents at a school board meeting in Uvalde, Texas last night pushed school district leaders, understandably, for action and accountability.
Several parents want School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo to be fired immediately, as students told officials they were too scared to go back to school, which starts in 25 days.
This was the last dress that all my friends saw me on. Most of those kids were my friends. And that's not good. And I don't want to go to your guys' school if they don't have protection.
And she's encouraging for her friends not to go to school too.
So I said, yeah, you're saving hundreds with the whole
I apologize. That is exactly the kid I was hoping it would be. That was not the senior in high school. That's exactly the kid that is their friend. And had to point to photos propped up on auditorium chairs. Not being able to shake her friend's hands, give them a hug, anything like that. Wore the dress that she wore the last time they saw her. I just have no words. Of all the statements that happened at the Board of Education meeting yesterday in Uvalde, there was not a more impactful statement than that little girl made. I wish I had words. I'm going to share one more thing for you, and then I'm going to call it a night after just a couple more minutes here. The question earlier was, how do we know where that little boy went? In the report from the Texas Senate hearing is this diagram and layout of the building. This is the intersecting hallway that this little boy came around and peeked down the hall here. When he heard the gunshots, he immediately went back this way. Yes, there is the chance that he went up the hall further, but from everything we can see, it looks like he ducked around this corner boys' bathroom, girls' bathroom. Well, I didn't say I'm leaving yet. If you guys got questions or want to talk more, we can talk more. I'm. I can only talk for so long tonight. Emotionally, I can admit I don't like to take on things that are easy to talk about. It's not because that's boring or that's this, that, or the other. I take them on because they need to be talked about. A logical and true conversation needs to happen. And I can honestly say that this is emotionally trying to me to talk about this. Double Rainbows, what's wrong? Where'd she go? What's wrong? Double Rainbows, don't go anywhere. Talk to me later. We'll work it out, okay? I don't know what's fully going on. I've been bouncing all over. I haven't 100% watched the chat tonight. If something needed to be drawn to my attention, I trust Carrie and I trust Cosplay to handle it. Every single person in my chat deserves that. I will 100% agree. Okay. Muffin topic goes beyond just the police. It's the school board also. The school board has to accept accountability, and they're refusing to do so. I can't help but think that if just one of the systems, just one of the systems that were set up ahead of time, and when I say ahead of time, I'm just talking, we're going all the way back to Columbine, we're going back to Sandy Hook. The systems that were put in place and started getting implemented back then, and each and every time that something happened, they enhanced them, or through technology have tried to make them better. If one of them got implemented properly, none of this would have happened. The assessment of what happened and what went wrong with this person when he was in 4th grade, that was supposed to be in place to prevent things like this from happening, had happened appropriately, that he would have been a productive member of society, and that this would have never happened. For this incident, there really wasn't a manifesto or anything beyond what he had posted on social media. A lot of what happened with the Texas Senate hearing that happened is they had made the point that to understand him, they had to understand the forensic information that they had gotten from his social media. I'm not using the right phrase. I'm not coming up with the right phrase. There's a specific phrase for that. But anyway, this goes beyond just being a mental health issue. This goes into to systems failing the students. Not just the students of the classrooms of 111, 112. They paid the ultimate price that they should have never have been asked to pay. Chief Arredondo and other officers contended they were justified in treating the active, I'm changing the wording, the active situation as a barricaded subject rather than an active shooter because of lack of visual confirmation of injuries or other information. Chief Arredondo explained his reasoning for not continuing an active shooter style response, telling the committee, when there's a threat, you have to visibly be able to see the threat. You have to have a target before you engage your firearm. That was just something that's gone through my head a million times. Getting fired at through a wall. Coming from a blind wall. I had no idea what was on the other side of that wall. But you eliminate the threat when you could see it. I never saw a threat. I never got to physically see the threat or the shooter. That is exactly the price that 19 children and 2 teachers had to pay because a person that is supposed to be the chief of the CISD could not perceive. I'm hearing gunfire still coming from this classroom. It's possible there are children still in there. I need to act accordingly. This is probably the one incident in a hot-seated society right now that shooting first and asking questions later would have been acceptable. I don't pretend that the problem with the police and the perception of what is happening right now in the country is that police will shoot first and ask questions later. And it's raised and intensified with racial it's charged with racial intention. The problem is that he didn't act. Chief Arredondo prioritized making certain all other classrooms in the building were clear of teachers and students, including the evacuation of room 109, where the attacker had shot through the walls. I wholly agree with that opinion. This is the one time. Shoot first, ask questions second would be acceptable. Part of the hearing and I don't remember who asked this, and I'm not seeing any information on this in this document. I believe it was from a police officer from another department that was not involved, but had testified to what appropriate measures should have been in this situation. Said that if an officer is going into their job that day not prepared to lay down their life to protect somebody else. They're already ineffective of their job. By department, this report lists who responded. Every single department that testified, when asked who would be in charge of something like this, who is the commanding officer when something like this happens, they all said either the CISD chief or the local police department chief would be the person in charge, and everybody would follow their command. I am going to wrap up, guys, here in just a second. I just saw what time it was, and it's getting late. It's almost 12:30 my time. But this is my part of my final thoughts on this. I'm not going to say that the people in Uvalde, as far as the citizens, the parents of the students in the schools, are the issue. They, in fact, are the solution. They started speaking out last night and calling for people that are supposed to be there to protect the students' safety. And forgive me, I hesitate because I'm actually looking for that list of who responded from what department. I know I saw it earlier today, and I'm not seeing it now as I scan through this. But there's a list in here, a breakdown of how many persons from each department that responded. It lists Park and Wildlife as responding. So it is detailed of who responded. I was trying to show you guys this list, and I apologize. I'm getting tired and I'm not seeing the list. But it's not going to change the fact that the parents that spoke out at the Board of Education meeting last night were exactly right. These people need to be forced to resign. You can't get rid of the doctor of the Board of Education without already have in this case, a replacement in place. But everybody else before that person and an outside hiring firm needs to come in and replace them. Not allow the superintendent to replace them. An outside firm needs to come in and replace them. I know you guys are agreeing with me. It's a kind of like a preach to the choir type of night, and I understand that. I appreciate you guys for hearing me out. I really do. The parents, the grandparents, and the student that I played. There's another student that actually spoke as well. She's a senior in the high school, and I didn't find her clip. The more impactful one is the one I played, in my opinion. An outside hiring firm needs to come in and replace every single person. This isn't just for the CISD or the Board of Education. It's for both collectively. Once they have all the Board of Education persons replaced except for the superintendent, that is when they can focus on replacing the superintendent, because you can't just clean slate and replace everybody in one fell swoop with everything that's going on. They have hesitated and waited too long already to have these new systems in place. Less than a month away from the school supposed to be opening, and now they're talking about delaying the school to be open. They have not begun to fix the problem. The physical problem with the building. Think about that. They did not start to repair the building. And school is supposed to start in about 4 weeks. Four weeks. And nothing has been done. Do they care? I don't believe they do. They do not care enough. They do not care enough to prevent this from happening again. Let's go ahead and flood my chat room with prayers. Some I normally don't ask. But let it be for not only the kids, the teachers, but the parents. Their siblings. It's 12:35 at night, my time. No matter how old or young your kids are, do you know where your kids are tonight? Just a reminder, my channel name is going to change by the time I go live again next. So if you do have set up where you get notifications, don't be alarmed. Don't be surprised if you see a different channel name, but at the end of it says RJ. If you know where your kids are tonight, no matter how old they are, make sure they know that you love them. I'm RJ and I'm out.